So yeah, I was using my crock pot, and I was making huli chicken.
It's huli chicken.
I don't know. I found it in a cookbook, and it looks good. And yeah,
that was the whole story.
That's the whole story.
Tommy was saving that for the podcast.
Well, huli I made the sauce and everything, and the sauce smells really good. So
crock pots are nasty.
Nasty as in good nasty or bad nasty?
No, bad nasty.
Why?
Because every time I've made something in a crock pot, it comes out just soggy and gross. You're fidgeting already.
No, I'm gonna have this pillow on me.
Okay. I hate this pillow.
Yeah.
This is on my
There's
couch
so much
for
hair.
years. It's fucking. I hate it.
Yeah.
Welcome back, everybody.
Yeah.
Something movie podcast or
SSMP. Yeah, that's almost simp, but with two S's and then MP.
Simp for good movies.
SSMP, baby. We just found it to be easier because something movie podcast is like a mouthful.
It's quite long.
And it's really long to type. And if you just type in SSMP, the 4 letters, you can just find the podcast instantly.
So we're on Spotify now. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on YouTube.
And next, we're going to be in your home.
Yeah. Turn around. So today we're going to talk about some of our favorite movies that we watched during quarantine.
Yep.
And we're going to talk about the movie Burning, which came out in 2018.
Yep.
It's a Korean film.
South Korean movie.
Yep.
2018.
So yeah, we're going to talk about all that. And
so yeah, how you doing, Michael? You ready to start the show? Yeah.
Yeah, when I was ready to start the show is when I did the intro.
Yeah. All right.
All right, so I guess we'll start with the quarantine things, right?
Yeah, we can just talk about some good stuff.
So I only really counted movies when we were in like the heat of quarantine. I know like technically we're still supposed to be quarantining and stuff, but things since at least in our state things have been opening up, I kind of counted that as the cutoff point.
Yeah, I imagine it's probably like mid-March to like now, or maybe even a little bit before now.
I went to like the end of June. That's what I counted.
Okay.
Just because in July, our state at least started opening up, and I was like, that's the end of the formal quarantine, I feel.
Yeah.
So I wrote down 3.
Okay.
I also want to say, I counted last night, and in that period from like mid-March to end of June or so, I watched 123 movies in that span of time.
123 movies?
Mm-hmm.
That's insane. I think I probably watched like around 60, 70 or something.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit more. But
but that also does include like I was rewatching a bunch of movies I'd already seen a million times.
That's true.
And I rewatched all the Harry Potter movies.
Mm-hmm. So
yeah. So I'll start, I guess.
Yeah. Go ahead and start.
My third favorite movie I watched in quarantine. Also, this was fucking hard for me because I had a lot of movies that I was like really all about, and I just had to.
Yeah, you were really bad about it for these movies.
Yeah, so we just picked 3 that we thought were like the best of the best.
Yeah.
Don't move it mid podcast.
Well, I feel like I'm far away from. I don't know. I feel bad.
So my number 3 was Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Okay. I still need to watch that.
Yeah. It's a movie I recommended to you. I watched it a couple months ago. And it was, at first, like, I liked it, but I wasn't, like, crazy about it, And
then it grew on you?
Yeah, and then it grew on me, like, a lot, actually. It's Jim Carrey and, Rose from Titanic. Kate Winslet.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, like, you never see Jim Carrey in serious roles anymore, and I thought he was really, really good in this. And
Sonic the Hedgehog was.
That's true.
That was a pretty serious role.
The Grinch too, the live action.
Yeah, the live action Grinch, and Dumb and Dumber too.
Dumb and Dumber. Oh yeah, Dumb and Dumber 2.
You know, actually, he's a pretty serious actor. Like Jeff Daniels. He's in the Dumb and Dumber movies as the dumber guy, but he actually is in some. He's in some like pretty serious roles, which is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like what?
He's in a movie called Something Wild, and it also has I don't remember his last name, but Ray something. Yep, Ray Mysterio, John Cena. But no, it had Ray, the actor Ray something, who plays the Henry Hill in Goodfellas, and he plays a guy named Ray in the movie Something Wild. I don't remember what his last name is, but he's the main guy in Goodfellas.
Yeah,
and he's a really good actor.
All right, but yeah, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. It's, if you don't know what it's about, it's a romance movie, kind of about this couple, and you kind of you see them meet each other, and then you learn there's this kind of technology in this universe that helps erase things from people's minds, so you can erase entire memories of people.
Sure.
So when they kind of go through a breakup, you find out one of them had erased the other one from his mind, and then a lot of the movie takes place inside Jim Carrey's mind as it's being erased. This isn't a spoiler, by the way. This is like 10 minutes into the movie. But, so a lot of it takes place in his mind as it's being erased, and it's really like good visually to see like how they're representing different things getting erased, and like it's a really nice message, and there's a lot of good like not even like twists and turns, but just like revelations that I hadn't thought about.
Yeah,
and I don't know. I really like the message of it without getting into spoilers. I thought it was really sweet. I say spoilers. This movie's from like 17 years ago or something. Mm-hmm. What about you? What's your number 3?
Let's see. So I have a few that I could probably. I'm just gonna group a bunch in for number 3 because I feel like I know what my number 2 and 1 are.
Mm-hmm.
So for 2 and 3, or for 3 and whatever, I probably group in Inglourious Bastards, Shawshank Redemption, and maybe Spider-Verse, but probably not. I'll just say Inglourious Bastards and Shawshank.
See, that's not fair, because I freaking only picked 3.
Well, I'm bad at grouping. Anyways, Inglourious Bastards was really good, and it was super exciting, and it was absurd, and it was, I don't know, I just really enjoyed it, and obviously Shawshank. Have you seen Shawshank?
No.
You gotta see it. It's a classic.
We'll do that in an upcoming episode.
It's just a phenomenal story, and everything's good about it, and I like it a lot. But yeah, I don't know. I don't want to go into too. If you just haven't seen either of those movies, I would recommend going in absolutely blind. So I don't want to talk about them too much.
Yeah,
but they're both really good. And they have like just a lot of stuff that you just don't really see in other movies. They try a lot of new things and they work out really, really well. So yeah.
My next one is one I watched pretty early on in quarantine. Honestly, it was probably one of the first new movies I watched. And Tommy, you've actually seen this movie. Yeah. You didn't like it as much as I did, but
I know it is.
You do know what it is. It's Lady Bird. Directed by Greta Gerwig. If I'm pronouncing that right, who did Little Women last year.
Greta Thunberg.
No.
Actually.
Yeah. And it's a coming-of-age story, and if you don't know this about me, I'm a fucking sucker for a good coming-of-age teen story.
Yeah.
I love Booksmart, Edge of 17, Breakfast Club, Ferris Bueller, all that kind of teen high school movie shit. Mm-hmm. And Lady Bird was kind of just like, I don't know, it just like really scratched that particular itch that one day. And I really like Saoirse Ronan's character in that. And I like, the relationship between her and her mom is really realistic and reminded me a lot of like, not like the mom character did not remind me of my mom, but like some of the events that happened in the movie reminded me a lot of like my mom and my sister and that kind of dynamic. And I just thought, I don't know, I thought it was really memorable, kind of stick in your head movie. I just liked it a lot.
Yeah, I remember when I watched it. I enjoyed it, but I wasn't like over the moon about it. I don't know. It was one of those things where like because there's a lot of movies where like you watch it and you don't really have any problems with it, but it didn't wow you, and that's just kind of how I felt about it.
Yeah, I think it kind of did wow me though, especially because like I thought the movie was going in a specific direction, and it kind of didn't, like not really. This isn't a spoiler, but like the whole movie is about her, wanting to get into a college on the East Coast, so she doesn't have to live in California anymore. And like, the movie isn't like, that's not the goal, really. It's what like she thinks is the goal, but the movie has like a lot to say about that kind of, about like leaving your hometown and about.
I definitely like it. Did make me feel like a tiny bit nostalgic for those like few months of our lives where we were like really anxious about applying for colleges and like leaving home and that kind of thing. I think they nailed that feeling.
Yeah.
And I also love the scene. It's like at the end, but it's not really a spoiler. There really aren't any spoilers in the movie. But where she's like talking about her hometown to her mom.
Yeah.
I thought that was like such a good scene.
Yeah. I thought I thought it was really like relatable, and like kind of when a movie's set in a Catholic school like that, you expect it to be either like, oh, Catholicism is so restricting, or like, oh, Catholicism is like the best thing ever.
Yeah, it's one of the two.
But it's not either of those things, which I kind of appreciated.
Yeah, it just showed like how regular kids who were also like, just at a Catholic school.
Right.
It didn't really have any. Like,
it wasn't preachy in either direction.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes it was, but like it wasn't ever to a fault. I felt like it was always in service of the story.
All right, so my second best movie, or my second favorite movie, is Goodfellas. I just talked about it, and I just found it's Ray Liotta. Ray Liotta. That's
okay.
I knew his name was Ray. I didn't know where he's from. I thought the acting was incredible.
Yeah.
It was like, I just love. I think I wasn't like too into mobster movies,
right?
But I think that Goodfellas was like just nailed it, and you were like, they really just absorbed you in the culture of like mobs and like Italian gangs and that kind of thing. And the fact that like Ray Liotta is like the main character, but he's also like kind of narrating the story too, makes it so good. Mm-hmm. And I remember when I first watched this, I was like, I really liked it, but I wasn't too high on it. But like, it's one of those movies where like over time, I really started to just like really, really like it.
Right.
And it's so funny how like, I don't know, it's just, it has such a charm to it, and it's like there's so many unique things about that movie, like how they say, "Oh yeah, we gotta whack him," or I don't know. There's just
like they talked. Okay,
yeah. Yeah, and they also really really good music choices too. They have this scene. Do you know the song "Layla" by Eric?
Yeah.
Eric and Doms.
I had to sing it with a friend of ours for a school project.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. I love that song.
You know the friend who sings?
Yeah.
That one.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I imagine. Yeah, I love that song so much, and especially because it's kind of, that song is broken into like two halves.
Right.
Where like the first half is like guitar and like singing, and the second half is that amazing like piano.
Mm-hmm.
And they have that piano piece, and it like, oh, it's just so good how they just work that piano piece into the movie.
Right.
And it's a true story too. I imagine it's a bit exaggerated, but it's just so good, and I definitely recommend anybody, please watch it.
Yeah,
it's
will.
Phenomenal.
I know you want me to watch Goodfellas and Shawshank, so
yeah,
I'll watch them because I made you watch two movies for the episode we just did. My number one is the only 5-star I gave on Letterboxd during all of quarantine.
Yeah,
to a new movie.
Yeah,
not to something I've already seen. It was Nightcrawler.
Okay, I remember
with Jake Gyllenhaal. I just thought this was a super interesting concept for a movie, and something I hadn't really thought about. If you don't know like kind of what the movie's about, it's like the Nightcrawlers are people who kind of, they go around, they listen to police scanners, and they try to beat the police to the scene so they can film it and sell it to the news stations. Mm-hmm. So the whole movie is about Jake Gyllenhaal's character kind of getting involved in that scene, and maybe getting a little too involved in that scene, and it's a really like dramatic kind of thriller movie. Yeah. It's just really, I found it really, really interesting.
I saw it when I was like 14 or whatever.
Came out in 2014?
Yeah, and I remember like, I think I saw it with my parents, and it was like, I just remembered that one scene. Like, he's just a normal guy who's like filming stuff, and then I forget what it was. I might be wrong, but he like starts filming something, then he like goes into the house and it starts getting really weird, and he's like, why the hell is he recording this shit?
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of shit like that. I think if you like movies kind of like Whiplash or kind of like the two movies this movie kind of reminds me of is Whiplash and Social Network, because it's kind of these interesting concepts, and then it's supported by even more interesting characters that are thrown into the concepts.
The three things about those movies is they just have really interesting characters.
Mm-hmm.
Really good character dynamics, and also like the main character is like such a good focal point of the movie.
And I really, really like I loved Jake Gyllenhaal in Nightcrawler, and I think he is a
good.
Great actor.
He's
that's why I think he was a perfect choice for Mysterio.
Rey Mysterio
in the biopic, but because he kind of has that unhinged thing. Whether or not they really lived up to Jake Gyllenhaal's potential in Far From Home is kind of debatable, but I think Nightcrawler is just such an interesting movie, and I already, like, the second I watched it, I bought it on Blu-ray, and immediately I'm like itching to watch it again.
Yeah. All right. Well, my number one, it's one that probably is pretty easy to see coming, but it's Parasite.
Oh yeah. I forgot you hadn't watched it until recently.
It's I was kind of struggling between this one and Goodfellas, because I like both things. I like those movies a lot. They're probably like very close neck and neck. But overall, Parasite is just so unbelievably memorable.
Yeah.
I don't even feel like I need to watch it again. I want to, but I don't feel like I need to, because I just remember so much of it. The whole movie, like, I feel like I could perfectly explain what happens in it. Mm-hmm. Whereas if I explain what happened in Goodfellas, I'm sure I'll leave out like a big
something.
Yeah, exactly. But Parasite was just phenomenal. It really, I remember everybody was going crazy about it, and I'm excited to see this.
Yeah.
And it was really good. The first time I watched it, I liked it. Wasn't my favorite movie of all time, but then it's one of those things, like I said,
it grows on you.
It really, really grew on you. Because
you've only watched it once, right?
I only watched it once. I remember we were talking once, and you said something like, I know I've only seen it once, but I can perfectly remember the layout of the house.
Yes.
And that was one of those things that like really stuck with me. Like, not only can I remember the layout of the house, I can remember like so many different scenes. I remember when just that gut sinking feeling where they're all like drinking in the house, and then they get the call saying, we're coming home in 20 minutes. That was insane. Spoilers for Parasite. If you haven't watched it,
just really. That's not really a spoiler.
Okay, but
don't
I'm not gonna spoil.
Don't go too deep into it, because we're gonna.
Yeah, I guess that really isn't a spoiler. But yeah, if you haven't watched if you haven't watched Parasite, definitely watch it. It's incredible. It's really incredible.
I really like Parasite. The only reason it's not on my list is because I watched it like maybe 2 weeks before.
Yeah,
we got sent home from college.
I watched Grave of the Fireflies a week before.
Yeah. So it just missed out on you.
It probably would have been number one.
Yeah.
Or number two. I don't know, something like that.
But yeah, I think Parasite, and that's something I really look for in movies. It's just like these super memorable moment, like not even full scenes, but just like things like the house.
It's like, I don't know how to explain it. I felt like I was one of the characters, or I felt like I was like literally in the movie watching them, and it was unbelievable. It's
super good because the movie totally,
and just because the twist they have isn't like that like mind-boggling of like a
twist.
A twist, not like a I am your father kind of twist.
Right.
But I just remember it completely like
it changed
reshaped,
the movie.
Yeah, it completely changed the movie and reshaped your thought about everything you thought you knew. And
well, that's exactly it. It's like you walk into the movie and you're like, I remember I was watching it, I was like, okay, this is interesting, this is fun. And then like that one thing happens and you're like, okay. Like this is
and then at the end where dude. We're gonna have to have an episode on Parasite.
Do an episode on Parasite, but
it's so good.
It's really good. I think quarantine really, honestly, did help. Like, first of all, my New Year's resolution for this year was to see more movies in theaters. I wanted to like go to the theater
3 months
every week, and yeah, exactly. So like, but quarantine was kind of a blessing in disguise because it gave me a chance to watch all these movies that I wouldn't really have time to watch otherwise. Is like, because there are so many other movies I didn't even mention that I could talk about.
Literally, straight up at school, I think like each semester at school, I only watch like maybe 3 or 4 movies. I just straight up don't watch many movies because it's just like hard to like sit down in my room and just like watch a movie.
Yep.
But like with quarantine, it's like, well, I got nothing better to do.
Well, yeah, because for me, it's like if I watch a lot of movies anyway, but obviously in quarantine I watch a lot more. But like at school, if I was like itching to watch a movie, I would usually watch something I already knew was good and just rewatch something. Like I'd be like, usually a superhero thing, but sometimes just like any movie I'd already seen because I was like, I don't feel like really like listening to something completely new and like I don't know if I'm gonna like it.
That's weird. That's I feel the opposite about movies. Like I rarely ever rewatch movies unless it's like for a specific reason, like today with Burning. But
you did watch Burning today.
I did watch Burning today.
Okay.
But like usually if I'm gonna watch a movie, I want to watch something that I haven't seen before. But with music, I feel the exact same way. When I'm listening, it's so hard for me to be like, all right, I'm just gonna listen to something that I haven't listened to before. It's so much easier to just be like,
reliable.
Yeah, I'll listen to Dark Side of the Moon.
Yeah,
for the 50th time.
But yeah, so I obviously fucking being in quarantine for months was terrible, but in some ways it was nice because I got to catch up on a lot of movies I hadn't seen. Yeah,
no, I feel really lucky because there are so many movies that I now like really like that I'm sure I just wouldn't have seen.
Yeah,
like I probably would have seen Parasite. I don't know if I would have saw Goodfellas, or I'm sure I wouldn't have seen Burning.
Right, I definitely would not have watched Lady Bird, or I was definitely itching to watch Nightcrawler. That was on my list for a while.
Yeah,
but Lady Bird and Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind were total just like crapshoots. Where I was like, let's see what these are about because I don't really know. Okay, should we transition into Burning?
Yeah, it's up to you.
I'm done. Do you have anything else to say?
No, not really.
Okay.
Are there any other movies that are like coming out that like seem anticipated? Oh, Tenet. That shit just happened.
New Mutants.
Oh, we could talk about. We could briefly talk about this as movie news. The Brian Konietzko and Michael DiMartino left Avatar live action. They're not working on it anymore.
Yeah, so you want to talk about that for a bit?
Yeah, we can talk about it for like briefly.
I think I was only really excited for the Avatar live action because they were involved creatively and because they were like, it's not going to be The Last Airbender. The movie.
It's like they're going to be at the helm. And it's like, oh, yes.
And then, like, did you read some of the details about why?
Yeah, he's like, we were promised that it would be our vision and things change.
Yeah, but did you read, like, what Netflix wants to do?
No.
They want to open up the casting process to white actors. And they want to make it, I guess, like, more romance, more sex, more gore.
Oh.
Like, they want to make it more for more mature audiences, which, like, if you want to do that, I think Avatar is the wrong property.
Yeah.
Because I think so much of that show hinges on Aang's innocence and his development into...
Yeah, what's so good about it is that it's a show that I loved as a kid, and I remember it was such a good show, and I'm sure I literally, I was like going through DVDs, and I found like a DVD set of like the last 5 episodes of book 1. For whatever reason, we had the final 5 episodes of book 1.
Oh, wow.
And I'm sure I had like action figures. I just loved the show, and it's so good as a child. But then like going back, it's still amazing.
It is.
And I think I even like it more.
And we're going to do deep dives into each of the 3 books. I think we have.
Oh, yeah, please. I will watch it again.
Book 1, book 2, book 3.
We could also do Korra.
We could do Korra. I haven't watched Korra yet.
It's on Netflix now.
I know. I'm just saying.
I'd be down to do Korra. Oh, yeah. Dude, if he also, like, it's probably, I think, I don't know how to put this, but out of all, like, the media, like, the movies, TV shows, and whatever, Avatar: The Last Airbender, I think, ranks above, like, 99.9% of everything. Like, I talked about Parasite and Goodfellas and whatever. I think Avatar: The Last Airbender is, like, miles above it.
It really is.
I
honestly do think it's one of the best stories ever told.
It's
I wouldn't
it's
even
incredible.
say that's being hyperbolic.
Yeah.
But to go back to the news is like, what's kind of disappointing about this is like, I don't need to see the characters in live action. The only appeal for seeing them in live action was that the creators were involved,
Yeah.
Like,
I wanted like an expansion of the universe. I wanted to learn more about the world.
Now I don't feel like we're going to be getting that. And my thing is like, if you're going to do this and you're going to kick the original creators off, then like, why are you just...
Well, they didn't kick them off. The creators left.
Either way.
Yeah.
I mean, they
didn't like
kick them off.
They didn't hold up their promise. Which is that's the promise. That's the first comic book.
But
it's okay.
If you're gonna make a live action show, why even remake the cartoon at all?
Yeah.
My pitch was like, if you really want to do a live action thing set in the Avatar universe, like, let's see who comes after Korra, or because like, first of all, like, I don't think a story like Avatar needs to be completely animation all the time. Like, I think it's one that's like, because even the art style for Korra and the original series are different. They look different, and so I think having a live action follow up to Korra I wouldn't like question that it's even in the same universe. I think it'd be a cool way to do live action in that universe, because then you're not just remaking the original series but shittier, And like, I don't want to see fucking Aang played by Tom Holland and fucking Katara. Katara played by Catherine Langford. Like, I want it. I think it's one of the best shows for Asian representation.
Yeah, it's so good, and I don't know you said it.
Yeah.
I also think that
fucking Danny DeVito is Uncle Iroh.
That'd actually be pretty funny.
Yeah,
I'd hate that. Just because I think Iroh is probably the best character in the show.
Yeah.
Next to maybe Zuko.
Yeah, Zuko's great.
Both. The thing is, every character is so good. That's what's great about it. And I don't know, if I had a choice, I'd probably like to see a new story.
Yeah.
Just because the original show is so good that I feel like it just needs to.
Well, that's what I mean. Is like, the original show is so good, and then you have Korra, which some people hate, but some people love Korra, and some people would even say it passes the original show. I wouldn't, because, well, first of all, I haven't seen it, but second of all, I from what I have seen, I don't think it would.
I watched the first 2 seasons, and I'm 10 episodes through the third, and I waited because I was watching it, I was kind of binging it, but then right as I was on that episode, I heard that it was coming to Netflix, so I'm like, all right, I'll just watch it in better quality.
Right. But I mean, so Korra has its audience, Last Airbender has its audience. I think doing the next Avatar in the cycle would be a fun idea. Plus,
Oh, and also here's what I want to say: a lot of people. I think it's bad for Netflix to want to make it more dark and more adulty, because it already is under. It's
Well, you got the Puppet Master.
Yeah, there's already a lot of
some dark stuff,
subtle dark things about the show that you don't really pick up on as a kid.
Yeah.
But when you watch again, you're like, wow, this is.
But also, aren't we past the need for that kind of dark and gritty everything? Because we were in that for a long time. It was like, now it's time for Superman dark and gritty. Now it's time for everyone dark and gritty. And I feel like we're past that. No one really wants that anymore.
So the part of the appeal is it's lighthearted, but it's also a phenomenal story, and it's heartwarming. It can be dark, but it's just at the end of it, it's heartwarming.
It's very heartwarming, and it's disappointing. But if the show ends up being good, then that's cool. I'll check it out. But if not,
I'm gonna check it out regardless. I'm gonna watch it.
If not, then I don't know. I don't have to watch it, and then the original series will always be right there.
Yeah. So speaking of firebenders, let's talk about burning.
Great transition. All right, so this movie came out 2 years ago, so we're doing a non-spoiler section. So yeah, if you we'll do a spoiler warning before we get into more spoilers, but
oh yeah, it's hard not to talk about spoilers, but we can do it. You can do it.
We can do it. It'll be fine. So Tommy, you rewatched it this morning.
I did rewatch it this morning.
Let's hear it. Did you like it more? Did you like it less? Did you like it the same?
Probably a little bit less. I think the first time I watched it, I liked it. I wasn't crazy about it, but I definitely liked it. And after thinking about it a lot, and I watched it with my mom, and I talked about it with my mom a lot, I kind of liked it more. And when I watched it today again, I felt the same way. Like I still liked it, and it's still like really, really well done movie. But I wasn't as high on it. But I like refrained from putting out like a review and rating it just because I feel like having a discussion about this movie or thinking about it critically is something that really, really enhances the experience.
Yeah. So yeah, I watched this movie like last week. I was not that huge on it.
Yeah.
You've been recommending this to me forever, and really the thing that forced me to watch it was the podcast.
Yeah.
That we started, and I was like, okay, I'll watch it finally. And so, okay, so this movie is very like go in blind. You know, the plot is very like you really don't know what it is until you see what it is. But so in terms of the good, I'm going to say the performances all around
very good performances
are very good. I have here Stephen Yeun as a Chad.
Yeah, he is a Chad.
I think he's really good in his role in the movie. I think the visuals were really good, and the lighting especially I thought was really...
Yeah, I'm going to bring up something about that later, because I didn't notice it until like today when I watched it, but the lighting actually plays a like bigger role in the movie than you think. And that's part of the thing that I really liked about this movie. If you're like big into subtle metaphors and things like that you can like point out and be like, oh, this ties into that, and you'll probably like this movie. Like the classic example is like how a high school English teacher talks about the blue curtains, and she wants you to figure out like, oh, why are they blue, and like it represents the authors, and usually it doesn't mean anything. But I feel like with this movie, a lot of just the subtle things represent a lot. From like there's a scene towards the beginning where Jaime is with Jongsu in her room, and there's like light that she says like the light only comes in her room like once a day. And you can kind of tell throughout the movie that the light actually represents a lot. And there's just so many tiny things, like the dialogue. I think the writing is really, really good too. And so many of the things is just, there's so many metaphors, which I really like too, because Stephen Yeun, he actually in the middle of the movie, he says something about a metaphor or whatever. He's talking to Jaime, and
oh yes, I remember this.
And then she's like, "What's a metaphor?" And then he looks to Jongsu, and he's like, "You can tell her. You're a writer." And I thought that was really cool because the whole movie is just so metaphorical.
Yeah, plus and then everyone's always giving him shit for being a writer.
It was so on the nose, but done like I really just liked that. And there's so many tiny little details about the movie that I like, which is probably where a lot of the beauty in the movie comes. If you really like the small details, then you're gonna love it.
Yeah.
But on like a macro level, I can understand why people, refrain from enjoying it.
Yeah. But so, yeah, I talked about the lighting. I talked about my big problem with this movie is 2.5 hours is a long fucking time.
It was pretty long,
and I don't really think this movie needs to be that long. There's especially a lot of points where I was like, we're literally just like watching characters go through actions very slowly, and I'm like, I get that this is supposed to be building suspense and building intrigue and yada yada yada, but I was like, I don't really feel like that was necessary. In fact, all it's making me do is like kind of not want to sit through this if it's all going to be so much, I don't know, painstakingly like long actions going on, which like, I don't know, I just felt like a half hour at least of this was like just kind of redundant and just like people walking around and kind of like checking their kitchen cabinets and shit like that.
Yeah, I remember when I was watching this, I remember the first time I watched it, I'm like, yeah, it was a bit slow. And then when I was gonna watch it today, I'm like, oh, I thought, I remember it was slowish, but it was definitely a lot slower. Like when Jaime goes to Africa, that whole scene between when she goes and when she comes back, it's like long.
It is long,
and it's just like not much happens.
And
like, he does a few things, but just not much happens.
Right, and I felt like in that time, not enough happened to warrant that much time.
There's a few things that happens that sets up some really cool interpretations at the end, which is why I understand it's like necessary for why they wanted to put it in. But like as a casual viewer, it's just long.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't even viewing it casually, though, because I felt like there's so many different things they set up for a very similar goal that I like. That it's like they devote so much time to, and I was like, okay, I think we got it with one or two of these things. I don't need.
Yeah.
I'll talk about that more later with specific examples, but ultimately, I know the movie's supposed to be ambiguous, which I also already have a problem with when movies are ambiguous because I just think it's usually pretty cheap and dumb as a way to be like.
Did you think this was cheap and dumb? The ambiguity?
I just didn't. Okay, so I didn't even feel like it was ambiguous. I felt like there was a very obvious answer to the problem.
Yeah,
and that's ultimately the thing. It's like the second the problem kind of presents itself, I'm like, oh, I know what it is. Like, I already know where this is going. And then it just feels like we're really wasting time. And I was like, there's got to be like a big twist or something coming where I'm like wrong. But I'm wondering
if I can change your mind, because I can understand why you specifically think one way. But when I watched it again, there are things that I noticed, like little details sprinkled out, which made me realize there's a lot more ambiguity to this than I thought.
Yeah, but ultimately I felt like I knew where the movie was going, and I felt like a lot of it was just the movie trying to get me to not know where it's going. Ultimately, it just led me to the exact conclusion I had from the start, which I don't know. It was kind of disappointing because, like, in a movie like this, you like to unwrap the mystery with the character, and there were definitely a few things, again, that are spoilers that I really liked that set up a lot of intrigue. But ultimately, I was just like, oh, this is gonna be this, you know. It's like, and I don't know, and that was kind of disappointing. But also, with ambiguous movies in general, we kind of talked about this in the last episode, which will be out before this, so I can say that.
Yeah.
With the Joker episode, is like, I just think ambiguous endings are such an easy way to be like, not only get people talking about your movie, but also like, I felt like Joker especially had a very straightforward ending, but then at the last movie, they're like, maybe it'll happen in his head. You know?
That's why I probably would like, differ off, because I think this movie, it like had a lot of buildup that presented ambiguity before the ending, whereas Joker, right at the ending, they're like, oh, but it could be ambiguous.
Well, they did that in the middle too, which is why I brought up Joker as an example.
Yeah,
but ultimately, I don't know. It's just like, I didn't hate the movie, but mainly my big problem with it was how slow it was, because I felt like if you had a half hour chopped off of it, I would get everything I got out of the viewing experience without being bored.
Mm-hmm. No, I can understand that. I was definitely a little bored at some points. I was like checking the time.
And that, we talked about this, not on the podcast, but just you and me, we were like, isn't it the worst feeling when you're watching a movie and you're like, it's wrapping up, and then you check and there's an hour left,
and you're like, oh boy.
That's exactly what happened to me this time.
Yeah.
Spoilers?
Yeah, let's talk about spoilers. So,
all right, wait, spoilers from here on out.
Yeah. So, when I watched it a second time, I definitely noticed a lot. So the big spoiler is that Jaime goes missing.
Yep.
A little after halfway through the movie, and can I guess, like, you thought that it was pretty obvious that Ben just killed her?
Yeah. Right?
So one of the things which I thought was really cool about it was in the very sort of beginning of the movie, Jaime talks about going to, when she was in Africa, and the whole like Little Hunger, Great Hunger dance.
Yeah.
And she says something, she was watching the sunset, and she says something along the lines of like, I don't want to die. I wish I could just vanish like the sunset.
Yeah.
Says it went from red to navy to purple.
Mm-hmm.
And she talks about wanting to vanish and wanting to go away. So that's always something I kept in mind. And then also what I really liked about the lighting, which is what I was talking about before. I'm pretty sure, I'm like 99% sure that after, like, the last pretty much scene we see with Jaime is at sunset. And afterwards, there is no sun.
In the movie?
It's just like a navy blue, purplish color tint in the sky for the rest of the movie. Which is, I think, is super, super symbolic. And pretty much a lot of the movie beforehand is just light out, which is symbolically representing her being there.
Yeah.
And I think after the movie, it's like she's not here. And so like in one of the early scenes, when they go to Jongsu and Jaime go to her room to like, fuck,
Nice.
the light comes in the room. And then when Jaime's missing and Jongsu gets in the room with the help of the neighbor, you could see the light is like on the other side. And the camera zooms out and it's just completely dark in the room. That was something I noticed like at the end of it, is that the lighting just played such a big role that like I didn't even realize.
So I see what you're saying about the whole fucking like Jaime maybe wanted to go missing or like went missing on purpose, but like I come on, it's so clear. It feels like it's so clearly laid out that Ben killed her.
No, I disagree. I think maybe the first time I thought that, but there's just enough ambiguity where I feel like it's not super set in stone. Like,
bro, he has her cat.
No, he never saw the cat. Like when he goes into the apartment, the cat is never even heard of. You just see like the poop, and that means that like, Jaime is like known to lie. Like we don't even know the story about the well is true. I think what's good about her character is that she represents ambiguity in herself. She's like, oh yeah, I'm Jaime. Do you remember me? Oh, but I had plastic surgery. You probably don't recognize me, which is already like a kind of, oh, I thought I knew you, but I didn't. And then the whole story she tells about the well, because like there's corroborating evidence or whatever it's called. There's evidence that doesn't line up with each other. Like only his mom remembers the well, but her own family doesn't.
Yeah, but I feel like the well isn't even all that. That's not even that much of a smoking gun.
No, nothing's a smoking gun, which is why I like the movie. There's no smoking gun.
That might be why I don't like the movie.
Yeah,
because I feel like I don't feel like he fucking killed her. I honestly I don't think anything else happened because he has her fucking watch in his trophy case with all the other girls.
Well, he just could be collecting. She could have just went there. There's no proof that he's a violent person.
Bruh, he literally went the first minute he's on. This is how I knew that he was going to be the serial killer in the movie, by the way. Literally the first second he's on screen, he's like, oh, I don't feel sad. I've never cried. It's like, okay, yeah, okay.
But you know what's so good about that?
Nothing.
No. At the end of the movie where Jong-soo kills Ben, Ben starts crying and hugs him.
Yeah, I know.
Which I thought was such a cool wraparound. Because like one of the first things we hear from him is like, oh yeah, I just don't feel sad. And then at the end, he's like, he kind of accepts that he's being killed.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think there's definitely a good amount of evidence to suggest that Jong-soo is just completely jealous and went crazy. Like, the fact of the matter is, Jaime said she wanted to vanish. She straight up said she wanted to leave.
Mm-hmm.
She had an insane amount of debt to pay. Like, it could kind of make sense. She didn't really have many friends. It makes sense why she would run away. And I forget what I was saying. I completely forget. What was I talking about?
Then what's the greenhouse thing? If not, he killed her. If she's not the greenhouse, then what is?
I don't know.
Aha!
But I don't know. It's hard.
Listen, Tommy, I know where you're coming from.
Oh, also, what is it? Jong-soo's dad is a violent person because we know, like, he went to the courthouse and he's
right,
like.
Yeah.
So the idea behind it is that like Jong-soo could also be just unleashing his rage, and I think the way I saw it, like the director, like actually said, I could be wrong, but I thought I read somewhere that the director said that the movie was meant to be ambiguous and that there is no like exact way you can perfectly place this movie so that you have like okay, that's what happened kind of thing.
But again, I feel like if the movie wanted to really do that successfully, I'm not saying that wasn't his intention, but I'm talking about like how well I think it was successful in doing it. Like having so many things like him talking about the greenhouse, the cat, the watch, all this kind of evidence stuff. I feel like had he taken like maybe one of those things out, it would have painted a more ambiguous picture.
Did Jaime have the watch on when she was dancing at the end of the movie?
I don't remember.
I don't know.
Either way, the intention was surely for the audience to go, oh, why do they have her watch in her trophy case?
Yeah.
You know?
I don't know. I just feel like the sunset scene with Jaime definitely suggests that she wanted to run away because, she was high and then she decided she saw the sunset and she's thinking to herself, I'll do the Great Hunger Dance. And then when she was mentioning that in the beginning, she was mentioning vanishing right after.
Mm-hmm.
I think with how quirky of a character she is, that is something that is definitely plausible.
Yeah, it's plausible, but again, like, if not him kill, if Jaime isn't the greenhouse that he's burning down, then what would the alternative be?
Who knows?
I'm not asking.
I'm sure there.
I'm
probably
not asking
is
that
an
to be
answer.
a dick. I'm just asking.
Yeah, no, I know. I think there probably is some kind of answer out there, which is why I like this movie, because I think the more you look into it and think about it, the more answers you can come up with. And I'm sure there definitely is some kind of answer to that. Or like, what is the greenhouse if it's not Jaime? I don't know it off the top of my head, but I'm sure there is something.
Because I actually really like that revelation of like, you're not looking close enough.
Yeah.
You know.
Because it's like, it's two separate things. He's like, oh, I can't find Jaime. She just disappeared. And now I'm also looking for the greenhouse
that you burned down.
And then it just connects like, oh, they're the same thing.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So, like, I don't know. Tommy, I'm honestly... Look, I'm not saying you're wrong for your interpretation, but I just don't buy it. I really think that it seems pretty clear. Because, like, if we were going to have the thing about the cat and, like, oh, maybe her cat was never real because you never saw it or whatever, then why have it respond to its name? What was his name?
Boyle.
Okay, yeah.
But also the reasoning is like, we never see the cat before, so it's definitely realistic that he just found the cat and the cat just responded to the word Boyle. Like, I'm not even kidding. I know a lot of dog owners. You're a dog owner, but I have a lot of friends that are dog owners, and they're like, oh, my dog is so smart. And then I literally say like a word. I'm like, look, your dog doesn't even know your name. And I just say a different word to the dog, and it's like, it just runs up, and I'm like, yeah, okay, come on.
Yeah, okay.
There are definitely dogs that are smart enough to know their own name, but I think people do give them a lot of too much credit.
Yeah. And then you have the well thing, which I think was probably the best thing the movie had going in terms of making an ambiguous ending. Because, like, if Jaime is lying about the well...
What else is she lying about?
Right, exactly. But and that's one where, like, the only person who confirms it is the mother, who isn't even in the rest of the movie.
I think also part of it is what we got to realize is that, like, Jong-soo is a writer, and part of the movie is to take you from the perspective of Jong-soo.
Yeah.
So everything we're watching is from his, perspective. So obviously, I think what's good about it is that you're a little bit biased at like, oh, come on, we know what the movie, we know what happened. But Jong-soo feels the exact same way. Yeah. He's like, this is so obvious, I'm just going to kill him.
Well, I mean,
but I think about it,
first of all,
I think about if like all that we saw in the movie is just from his perspective. I think if like there was some,
that's fair.
And I think that's purposeful. It's like super intentional that, they just follow his mind. We want to like be inside his mind in the movie. I think if, we were to take ourselves out and the movie were to be just about what happened and not from a specific perspective, we might see it a little bit different.
Now, what if Tommy, society is the real villain?
Yeah.
I mean, all Ben has is negative thoughts. But okay, so I had a point too, but now I don't remember what it is. Either way, from the second Ben said like,
I never cried.
I never cry. I don't feel sad. I was like, first of all,
he definitely is super sus. I will say that. Like they don't go out of their way to make him not sus.
That's what I mean. It's like it's so like, I don't know. I get you are right. It's from what's his name? Jong-soo's perspective. But and so that definitely leads to some bias. But if they wanted you to really think about that kind of stuff, maybe make Ben not such a fucking outward creep all the time. Because he was...
Well, he's a nice guy. At the end of the day, he's a nice guy. It's just there's tiny little things about him that, you're like...
Huh? He has a trophy case. I don't care how many girls you've dated. If you're not... Like, there's no way you're just keeping artifacts of them. Even if he was just dating them and didn't kill them, but kept artifacts of them anyway, that's still weird.
Yeah. No, it is weird.
So
maybe he's just a woman. He collects women's watches or something. But I read some kind of analysis that like from the beginning of the movie, Jong-soo already thought that like Ben was this Gatsby kind of character, and he knew that there has to be something not perfect with him.
Yeah.
So the way the movie goes along is it tries to like find what's under the surface level, like so that's why they're you see the woman's watches and it's presented in a way that's like, oh well, that's weird. Right. And there's so many. I don't know. It's really hard to talk about without going in really deep. But I could understand why I wouldn't like this movie, just because it's a bit much. It's a lot to like think about, and it's just like
yeah. My biggest
it's
problem
definitely
is
long. It's definitely long.
Yeah.
It's admittedly way too long.
My biggest problem is that you're right. You know that you like your theory is sound. You know I don't think your theory is dumb, but I don't think I still think the evidence to the contrary really.
No, yeah, I agree. But I think that's because of the fact that the movie's about Jong-soo.
Sure. But either way, I I was reading a bunch of interpretations after I watched the movie.
That's his name, right? It's Lee Jong-soo. I think it is.
But I was reading a lot of interpretations online. And from what I found, this seems to be the most accepted, explanation of what happened. Like, from what I've seen, most people are pretty sure that he killed Jaime. I just started coughing. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I think if you're someone that really likes details in movies, you're probably gonna love this.
Sure.
Just because, like that thing about the whole sunset thing, like I remember watching it, and there was a little bit after Jaime left, I'm like, wow, there just isn't that much sun anymore. There's like a few scenes with I think a little bit of sun, but for the most part, I think it's pretty like what she said. It's navy blue and it's purple out for a lot of the movie after she's gone, and the light doesn't really shine on him anymore. And I think that it's definitely symbolizing the fact that like she's not here anymore. She just vanished.
Yeah, and
that's exactly what Ben says. He's just like, without a trace, I can burn the greenhouses.
To the ground, yeah. And yeah, I mean, maybe I'm a fucking idiot. Like, people listening to this, maybe I'm just being dumb and refusing to look at things with more nuance, but I don't know. Ow! That kind of hurt.
Did it really?
Yes. You believe it?
No.
But ultimately, I don't know. I'm very... For me, I would say it's a thumbs down, only because...
You have 3 stars.
Yeah, that's right in the middle. So that's right at the cutoff point.
Okay.
But, I just... Also, our star ratings are not gospel. I'm sure we're going to contradict.
Well, they are.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm only giving it a thumbs down because of mainly the runtime. It's just
fair.
2.5 hours. It's just
I think it was the same runtime as Midsommar, which I was
also was too long.
Too fucking long. But unlike Midsommar, fuck, I hate that. I just will never say that. I felt like it had an interesting story. Like at the end of it, there was actually a story.
That's true. Midsommar, there definitely is a story, but I don't know if you and I like it personally.
Yeah.
Is that our first disagreement?
Yeah, I'm giving this movie a thumbs up. I will say, like, the runtime is definitely its biggest flaw. It's just like, it's so long.
Yeah.
Should not be 2.5 hours. If it was 2 hours, I think it could still put whatever it wanted to be in there.
Yeah.
But if you really like these deep, like, psychological movies that you really have to think about and analyze, or if you're an English teacher that wants to watch a movie with an insane amount of detail to the tiniest little things, you're probably going to love it.
Yeah, that's true. So, yeah, I guess that's our first big disagreement. I mean, not even big, but like, that's our first real disagreement on the podcast. I mean, actually, I gave Joker a thumbs up and you gave it a thumbs down, but...
That wasn't that much of a disagreement.
Yeah, I was pretty much trashing it the entire time. Kind of, at the last minute, pulled a fast one.
Yeah, and I think both of us had, like, we could understand what, the good parts about it.
Yeah.
But all around it was like, eh.
Well, that's how I feel like with this movie, and any movie in general.
There are some movies that I'm just like, wow, this was just... Like, I just hate it. But yeah. I like this movie. I like this movie a lot.
That's good. I mean,
yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be as high on it as I was before, but I still think it's got a lot. I mean, like a lot going for it. And if you liked Parasite and want to see what else like South Korean movies have to offer, I'd say this is probably one of the best places to go.
Yeah.
Granted, it's probably the only other South Korean movie that I've seen.
I was gonna say how many others.
But I think, like in terms of mainstream South Korean movies, this is like the other big one that I've heard about. So
yeah,
definitely give it a shot. If you like Parasite, Parasite's probably definitely better.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still good. Still good.
Still good. You got any recommendations this week or what?
I saw Doing the Right Thing yesterday.
Do the Right Thing.
Do the Right Thing. Sorry, that was good.
Is that your?
Yeah, that was good.
Okay. I'm just recommending everything I mentioned in quarantine favorites. So Nightcrawler, Lady Bird, and Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. I think Eternal Sunshine and Lady Bird are on Netflix. I'm not 100% sure. And Nightcrawler is...
Lady Bird is on it.
Okay, yeah. Nightcrawler is somewhere.
I think Nightcrawler on Netflix.
I don't think so.
I saw it on
I
somewhere. Oh, okay. I saw it on somewhere recently.
Yeah.
But I might be wrong.
Other two? I think I've talked about them on every single podcast so far, maybe. But the Planet of the Apes movies.
Oh my god.
They're good. Okay?
You know what's crazy? You go on and on about, burning this, burning that. And you know what's like really high ranked?
If you're gonna give me shit for the Muppets, I'm gonna fucking kick your ass.
The Muppets and the Diary of a Wimpy Kid movies are
because they're better films.
Are consistently like 4.5 stars. 4.5 or 4 stars.
No.
It's insane.
No. There's only one Muppets movie that's above 3.5 stars.
Okay.
And it's the Muppets 2011, which is at 5 stars. It's the peak of cinema. And Diary of a Wimpy Kid Roger Rules
Did you see that?
Better.
Did you see that list on? Oh, hold on. I saw this really funny thing. On Letterboxd. You know how like people make lists on Letterboxd that are like kind of wacky?
Yeah.
There's one really, really. Oh, here we go. So there are 2 movies in this. It's Parasite and Diary of a Wimpy Kid Roderick Rules, and the title is movies where the protagonists are left alone in a nice house for the weekend and they trash it. Then the homeowners have to come home early because of unforeseen circumstances involving their youngest kid. So the protagonists have to hurry to clean it all up, and at first it looks like they got away with it, but later the movie and the homeowners find out about everything due to one small error the protagonist didn't take into account, and now our protagonists are in trouble. And it's just Parasite and Diary of a Wimpy Kid Roderick Rules.
That's really funny.
I saw that and I was laughing my ass off.
Look, the Diary of a Wimpy Kids movies, you can give me shit for this. First of all, also, you went on this tangent because I mentioned the Apes movies, which if you're going to say those are of similar quality, come on.
No, I'm just saying.
But Diary of a Wimpy Kid Roger Rules is genuinely a great family movie. Okay. I'm not kidding.
Okay.
And better than Burning.
Sure. But I will say, this movie has gotten me excited to watch other foreign films, especially other South Korean movies.
Yeah.
Because I think, I don't know, I guess I didn't. Not that I didn't really care about foreign movies, but I guess I just didn't really watch many foreign movies. But this, it's like, shit, they got some really, really cool ideas. And I'm excited to see what else is going to come. I'm excited to see what Bong Joon-ho's next movie is going to be.
Oh, yeah.
What did he do? He did Snowpiercer 2.
Hopefully he does, like, the Muppets.
Yeah, you'd love that, wouldn't you?
Imagine how sick, like, the Muppets Parasite would be.
Bong Joon-ho doing Muppets and Quentin Tarantino doing Diary of a Wimpy Kid.
No, that would suck.
Yeah, he'd have Greg Heffley's feet.
Yeah, and suddenly Roger's saying the N-word.
Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Also, Brokeback Mountain. I watched that the other day. It's a very good movie.
That also has Jake Gyllenhaal.
Also has Jake Gyllenhaal. I'm a fan of Jake Gyllenhaal. And Heath Ledger. You know what I hate?
Society.
I do hate Society, but there's this really fucking weird trend where like, there's this really weird like trend where like if 2 actors have played superheroes at some point in the past, and like you look up a clip from another movie, like let's say this one, if you look up Brokeback Mountain, like a scene from Brokeback Mountain, every comment is like, oh my god, the Joker and Mysterio are in a relationship, and it's like every single movie with multiple actors that have been in a fucking in a superhero movie at one point or another, like American Psycho. It's like, oh my god, Batman went crazy.
Yeah, it's sad because like I feel like with superhero movies, as opposed to anything, you just like can't escape that role.
Yeah.
Once you're like Robert Downey Jr., I know he wants to like do other things, same as like Chris Evans.
Yeah.
But
Forever
I don't.
is Iron Man.
It's gonna take a while before they like.
Well, Daniel Radcliffe too.
Yeah, literally Daniel Radcliffe. It's like these big movie series, you just can't break out of that role that you were in.
Yeah.
And it sucks. But there's definitely somebody who did it, and I don't know who it is. There's somebody. I don't know. There's I'm gonna like remember it like later today, or like when I'm listening to this podcast again. I remember who I'm talking about.
Well, wow.
Because
I'll put it in an editor's note if you want me to.
Yeah, sure. We'll figure it out.
That's all the time we have today. Thanks everyone for listening. Actually, this is gonna be the last Shedcast.
Yeah.
We're going back to school, so next time you hear us, it might sound a little different.
It might sound better.
Actually, they'll have already heard what we sound like.
I think the one mic in the shed sounds pretty good, though.
It does.
So yeah, wish me luck. I'm gonna eat my huli chicken.
Oh yeah,
later. It's in the crock pot.
I'm gonna go finish my Captain America puzzle.
I'm doing a puzzle.
Yeah, me and my mom have done 4 puzzles in the
Wow.
past like couple months.
Damn.
Yeah. So now we're doing Captain America.
Cool.
Yeah. Thanks everybody for listening. We'll be back with another movie.
Yeah, we don't know what we're doing, but we'll do something. And
probably an older movie because we've been doing a lot of newer ones.
Yeah, stay. What's a good slogan we have? Like
stay meaty.
And wait. What's something that rhymes with E?
With E? P.
Yeah, okay. Stay glee and listen to SSMP.
Oh, okay, that's what you were going for. Okay. Bye, everyone.